Just answering questions with WAPTech, and the video will be titled Christopher Busby, Wings of Death, Wolves of Water, Pet Set Theory, and Exploiting People from Fukushima. I'm not being nice about this because someone decided to make a claim about the guy. I'm like, I didn't really care to, but okay, let's dig this guy open. His main claim, one of the main claims, he has several, is based on the work of Russian biologist Elena Burlakova. Radiation moderately above background causes more cancer than higher levels of radiation. This is contradicting literally every single case of radiation poisoning and radiation-induced cancer that can be found. That requires extraordinary proof. All right, let's do this. He also published books, 2 of them. Anyway, his secondary event theory, the SET theory, not the PET theory, photo effect theory. Secondary event theory. Primary exposure to a beta particle will render a cell to be in G2 phase, and that's highly radioactivity sensitive and more prone to malignant changes when exposed to a second particle. This is the second event or particle impact event theory. In spite of work from 1906 forward, starting off with Bergonié and Tribondeau, where it was established that cells, under all conditions, in the G2 phase are more resistant to radiation than cells in the M phase, radiosensitivity and cell cycle. He's just contradicting established knowledge so that people who want to have something to sell supplements for have something to sell it for, because he was involved in selling supplements. Does anybody remember that the origin story for the chemtrail story came from a bunch of guys trying to sell supplements and needing a boogeyman to buy supplements for? He and a different non-scientist were the only dissenting opinions for the CERRIE report that rejected SET, secondary event theory, in 2004 due to the absence of any supporting evidence to show that it actually exists. No evidence. Also, this was done through independent review. 2011, he began selling Minority Report after this on his website for $25 to get money, without a citation claiming the following. He didn't mention the citation or where he got his information from. This is a scientist who doesn't give citations and gets caught literally not providing evidence to support his assertions. That's on purpose. That's so he can look like a pariah, so he can look like he's, breaking the conditioning. No, he's literally setting things up to where everybody will say he's wrong, so that certain people will then ignore all of the experts and gravitate towards him. This is a tactic. Without citation, he claimed that North Sweden cancer rates increased by 40% since Chernobyl. He was misquoting a book, not a scientific paper, that said more than 1 million people have died from 1986 to 2004 as a direct result of Chernobyl, and it did not provide any citations or evidence. So now he's citing someone else who did the same thing. His PET theory, photoelectric effect theory, is based on the idea of ingested uranium particles vastly increasing the potency of natural background radiation. Again, natural background radiation has to be what you bring up. Background radiation causes more cancer than uranium or plutonium or strontium, or by 500 to 1,000 times, even though this isn't borne out in anything at all. No evidence. And he said it was caused by the photoelectric effect. The trouble is, 2013 computer simulations, just like he was using, by someone named Patterson, show photoelectric effect radiation enhancement to be virtually non-existent. It has big numbers associated with it, but not as big as ingesting uranium. But if you had a photoelectric effect, I'm going to have a link to what the photoelectric effect is. I'm not going to explain it in this video because this is not just uranium and stuff. Christopher Busby is the author of 2 published for-profit books. As a director of Green Audit Limited, a for-profit company that was a private dormant company used as a shell for a very long time. Green Audit Limited, you can look up its history. UK law requires the stuff be published publicly. You can look up all the history for it. It's been declared dormant and shut down repeatedly by the people running it. And it's a house near the sea. That's it. He endorsed a useless mineral supplement to mitigate radioisotope ingestion effects. And because of that, claiming that it was declared a drug and excluded unless you could prove it worked. They can't prove it works. There's no evidence that it works. It might just well be holy water. That's it. He also claimed a conspiracy of the Japanese government to spread radioactive contamination all over the country for some bombastically stupid reason, instead of trying to prevent it from being... Why wouldn't you just take it someplace and keep it away from people and prevent lawsuits? Oh no, that's just what they want you to think. I know this sounds crazy enough, but it will work. We'll deliberately radiate everybody. That's literally what's going on here. It was also, his mineral supplement one time was labeled Busby Laboratories Formula 1, Christopher Busby Foundation for the Children of Fukushima. For the children. Drink Dr. Busby's sacred holy water to prevent yourself from dying from comet germs or Fukushima fear. Or I didn't even look into this before. I just said that he wasn't saying things that matched up any known physics that I could find. Now I'm sure he's a charlatan from Shitville. And this is the sad part. This happens to a lot of scientists. A lot of people who have a good set of credentials, but they deliberately throw themselves under the bus so they can look like a pariah, so they can look like, oh my goodness, what is it? A martyr? Bachelor of Science in Chemistry, first class honors, University of London. PhD in chemical physics at University of Kent, and now he criticizes and insults every physicist because they disagree with him, and he failed to provide evidence in some of these things, or used other sources that didn't provide evidence either. I haven't even looked up the other source from Russia. I'm afraid to, but I'll go ahead and put it down below as an addendum. 2001, he was appointed to the UK Ministry of Defence Oversight Committee on Depleted Uranium. 2003, he was a Fellow of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Liverpool, in the Department of Human Anatomy and Cell Biology, and a visiting professor at the School of Biomedical Studies, University of Ulster. And after Fukushima and stuff happened, he, in 2012, retired and then just kept working like a dog, you know, like a badass, as a guest researcher at Jacobs University, Bremen. So I don't think this guy can retire. He's one of these workaholics that wants to keep going and wants to help the world, but he's deliberately sabotaged his credentials and his reputation so that he can look like a martyr. He's now a scientific director of environmental research, SIA, in Riga, Latvia, which is fine. But he's saying things that don't match up with observed reality, other studies, and does not provide evidence for his assertions. I find him to be non-credible. And the fact that he was involved in a food supplement scam, and it is a scam, is sad. Now, he may actually have really good credentials here, but he's throwing himself under the bus because that's how you sell yourself to the alt-reality community. You have to be Jesus. You have to be a Messiah. You have to be a martyr. Someone asks, as I'm going to read the comment that brought this up. You obviously haven't been following his work for very long. No, I didn't at the time. Thank you very much for letting me look up this. When you review somebody who makes fantastical claims, you look for any reason he would make them. He runs a business advising on this. He endorsed a product from a company that was basically snake oil, and he's been involved in enough controversies for not doing basic science that I no longer find him to be credible at all. Before you made this comment, I didn't know any of this. I only looked at the claim. I didn't look at the person. Now I have. He's trash. You silly sod. His little toe has far more credentials compared to anyone you've ever met. I have a brother who's a physics teacher and a physicist. I have another who worked at the South Pole, a relative. I have relatives who I've consulted with. I've asked doctors in the area. Who did you ask? Fukushima fearmongers and ugly girl by Dana? Or Blanche, who got cancer from his work. He worked with drywall, and the drywall compound he was using, he didn't know at the time, eventually got recalled for causing fucking cancer. That's how Kevin Blanche got cancer. Occupational hazards. And in case you haven't noticed, he's not dead. He's going through conventional medical treatment. They all talk about unconventional thinking practices until their lives are on the line, and suddenly they're lined up for literally bog standard medical treatment. Every frackin' one of them. Questions about 911. As the towers began to collapse, wouldn't the weakest portion start dropping first, causing asymmetrical damage with accompanied dissipation of energy? Unless the building is designed on purpose, then if it has a failure, it will collapse in a symmetrical way. You can actually do that in a building. The building we're talking about is a tube-and-tube design. The main column grouping in the middle probably would collapse after the outside edges. But the main thing about this is the outside edge is a perimeter fence holding up the next floor. It's not really that... It's not built the way you might be thinking of a normal building. These were not normal buildings. But anyway. Would more energy need to be added for complete destruction? No. The idea is really simple. If you cause the top part of a building to cave in and fall down into the rest of it, that is a pile driver effect. That's all that's needed. 25% of a building ramming into the top 3/4 will crush it because it's a mass of weight. If it drops maybe 1 floor, it might stabilize after 2 or 3 floors of crushing and stay stood up. The whole point of the design was originally so that it would always, no matter what happened, if it did fall down, it would fall into its footprint. That may be the only part of the design that really worked, as we may have noticed, because if it fell over like this, it would smash other buildings. One of the big fears with really tall buildings is that they'll run into another building. Buildings tipping over and hitting each other is actually quite rare. But that's an opinion. Now, that's also for me looking at way too many models of collapses of this building using different asymmetrical things, including explosives at one time. It was, the way it was put together would cause it to cave in the way it did, just about. Besides that, the planes, both planes apparently came in at, let's say this is the building's outline, came in at an angle like this, so it would spread out as much damage into it as possible. That may have been deliberate on their part, or may have been an accident. Also, that's also where the escape stairwells were in some cases, so they may have been aiming for escape routes. If you hit this escape route here, and the main column's in the middle, you cut off most escape routes for everybody above that point. And I do believe they were trying to aim for the 75% mark. Next one. Most straight men are attracted and excited looking at young, beautiful, symmetrical women. Would you consider this component of instinctual or learned behavior? I think it's instinctual for health testing. A healthy potential partner is more likely to produce healthy offspring, and that may be passed on as a preferential thing. I don't know. But we unlearn behaviors so much. It appears hardwired, although societal influence opinion please. You get the idea. I'm pretty sure it is hardwired in, but I don't consider this instinct beyond mating instinct. Humans are almost devoid of our instincts, as you can tell from some of the comments we get. Also common sense. Thanks for watching. Have a good day.